2 days after the ruling by the International Court of Justice that Israel halt its military offensive on Rafah, dozens of Palestinians have been killed by strikes on a refugee camp in the area. The IDF claims it was targeting Hamas leaders and alleges that Hamas had fired rockets at Tel Aviv, the first of their kind since January. I will be arguing that it is very convenient that Hamas has fired rockets at Tel Aviv, the first of their kind since January, given how Israel is viewing the ICJ ruling and its reading of it. And now, Israel may argue that it is not violating the court's order, especially because of these allegations of Hamas's rocket attacks. The court's order was quite a clumsily drafted one, or as some people argue, it is on purpose clumsily drafted to ensure that consensus could be reached by the court. But the exact words it has used are that the government of Israel immediately halt its military offensive, and any other action in the Rafah governorate, which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Now, international lawyers have spent the last 2 days debating these two commas. Do they only mean that Israel can carry on with its operation so long as it does not commit genocide, which is what the Israeli judge would have you believe? Or does it mean that you can't do an offensive on Rafah and also that you can't do any genocidal activities? Now, the word offensive used was very deliberate. It means that you can use defensive force against Hamas's rocket attacks so long as you don't continue with the military operation there, and you comply with the law on the use of force in self-defense, which means it has to be necessary and proportionate. I do believe that under this construction of the ICJ's order, what happened last night, the strikes on the refugee camp, go beyond what is necessary and proportionate in responding to Hamas's rocket attacks on Tel Aviv. You have violated the ICJ's ruling. And whereas Israel would probably argue that we're not committing genocide, this is all related to the fact that you have these two commas in place. And what do they mean? By and large, the international legal community does understand it the way I have explained it to you, which is that no offensive on Rafah, use force in a limited, necessary and proportionate fashion against Hamas's rocket attacks, but that is it. And also do not commit genocide. Now, it is a violation, therefore, what has happened over the last 2 days. The strikes, the horrendous images also coming out of Rafah, we have had a violation of the ICJ's order. So what then? In order to enforce compliance with the order, it is the Security Council which should be the organ that should step in and order that Israel comply. It probably won't, given the US use of the veto, even though Biden and Netanyahu aren't really on the same page when it comes to the Rafah offensive. It is still unlikely that America will not use its veto in favor of Israel. Then the General Assembly can take this from the Security Council under the Uniting for Peace resolution and again issue a resolution ordering that Israel comply. But really, quoting the South African judge in his separate opinion, the court is just a court. We can only do so much with a legal piece of paper. The rest has to be done by pressure from the international community on Israel to act and prevent it from doing what squarely now looks like a genocidal campaign.